Welcome to another episode of the Automotive Recyclers Experience podcast. Georgia, how you doing?
Hello, Chris. I'm good, thank you.
Excellent. Always a pleasure having the big G on these sessions. So you wanted to talk. You said let's do a podcast. I've got some questions for you around buying salvage. So I haven't looked at the questions. You spoke to me very briefly about some of the things you wanted to cover, and it's come out of a number of discussions that you've been privy to, had, or been involved in with customers, and specifically around buying salvage. So I'm going to throw it
Absolutely.
over to you. You can drive the
Well,
questions. I'll try and answer them.
yeah, so I guess first up, can you tell me a little bit about the importance of buying the right cars as an automotive recycler and why
Yeah.
that's um, critical to business
Okay.
success?
So there's look, at the end of the day, the profitability starts with the buying. If the buying's right, the selling can be right. If the buying's wrong, it's pretty hard to make a bad buy good, right? So you know, it's often been said in our industry that buying is the most important job in an auto recycling business. And it's true. Buying is the most important job in any business. So your profit ultimately is made at that point in time.
Mm.
You will sell parts off a car, and um, there's some cars that, there's high demand for parts. And automatically we assume that that means we're making money because we're selling all the parts. There are other cars that you're not going to sell many parts of, but you make a lot of money out of them. So it's not all one way as well, right? So we need to buy the right cars at the right value at the right time so that we can turn those into cash.
Yeah, of course. And listen, we know from the market at the moment that it's, buying used
Mm,
cars and the salvage markets are more competitive than ever. um, it's really important to make sure that the cars you are buying are driven by decisions based on data and
yeah,
not just that gut feel, which I know a lot of our customers often talk to us about their buyers, and it's like, oh, their buyers just have a gut, they have an instinct for it.
yeah.
And whilst that is obviously an important part of, you know, a a good buyer probably does have to have some level of discretion, and maybe it is a gut instinct for this sort of thing, like anyone that's good at their job.
Mm.
We have data available to us.
We've got
How
data and we've
important
got tools,
it's really
right?
important, right? Like I'm not
Yeah.
just making that up.
No, no, you're not making it up. So certainly the data is critical, and the reality is, and I say we've got the data, and we've got the tools. We've got tools like BidBuddy, right? And BidBuddy is a tool that you can use so that you can make better buying decisions. Obviously, the data in the background is your information around, your demand, your available parts, in stock parts, your selling history, selling price history, number of requests, and so forth. And of course, that will drive what in the BidBuddy world is called a QCI score, which is basically a score that outlines there are high demand parts on this vehicle. The higher the score, the higher the demand.
Yeah.
One of the things that's sometimes a challenge for recyclers is when they use BidBuddy and they use other tools, whether it's this tool, it's what I know, it's what I've always known,
So Chris,
or
just
whether
for
it's,
people that are listening and not watching us online,
yeah,
Chris just pointed to his head to imply if he had a brain, it would be in his head. No, joking. But
that's
you
the
did
tool I
you
was
did
talking about.
point you
Yes,
did point to your head, indicating that you can use your brain as a tool.
yes. Sorry, I was always thinking about
Yeah.
being on a screen. Okay, so yes, so we can either use our gut or our brain, what we've always done to buy a
Yeah.
car, and whether this car will produce, profit. But it's critical also to understand it's not just the profit; it's what is my return on investment on this vehicle. So how much do I have to invest to get that return back? Two,
Hmm.
how long will it take for that to happen? So if my break even days are 360 days to break even, then the profitability is less relevant depending on what the options are out there at that point in time. So part of the challenge there is you can only do that with you by using data, right? And the challenge I find with people sometimes that are using tools like BidBuddy is that their back end is not set up properly. They set it up very, as we call, vanilla, off the shelf.
Yeah.
Or they use, "Oh, I think we should weight the engine this much, or I think we should do that." Or they look at every vehicle, whether it's a 2022 SUV or pickup truck or a 2008 Honda Civic. They use exactly the same settings in the back end of BidBuddy to value both those vehicles, but they're significantly different vehicles, right?
Yeah.
So we need to weight the value and the importance of different part types on each of those vehicles differently. So
Yeah.
we use a lot of the data out of Pinnacle or PowerLink in a couple of reports that we get from our customers,
So you're
so
jumping,
that
I
we
guess you're
can set
jumping
that up.
ahead. You're jumping ahead now, and that's
Yeah,
really what you're talking about when you say you use the data. That
yeah,
is ultimately what this, you have created a, I guess, another way to optimize. It's exactly what you say. It's using BidBuddy, but it's optimizing your BidBuddy settings and optimizing your BidBuddy to essentially buy better cars. Is
yeah.
that correct?
So
So
what we're doing is we're tailoring your BidBuddy settings to suit your buying and selling trends.
for
Okay,
your market and your
for
customers,
your specific. So
there's nothing
Georgia's
cookie
Auto
cutter about it.
Parts, Georgia's Auto
Sure.
Parts has her data, and
Yep.
ultimately you need to buy cars for Georgia's Auto Parts. So, we need to make those as profitable as possible for your facility. And when I say for your facility, you've got different things to consider, such as capacity. How many vehicles can I produce?
Yeah.
How many people, what overhead do I need to cover in that, production process? So sometimes it's a matter of saying, well, I can produce 100 cars a week. Chris, I've got to buy more than 10 cars a week to produce 100 cars a week, right? So
Yeah.
it's a matter of getting that right. And the only real way to do that accurately is by dissecting your demand and supply data, your buying and selling trends, so that as you buy differently, for example, let's say if you buy to your selling trend, that's great because then that should match really well, right? But then you might do something differently with your sales. You might have an offer on, or whatever the case is, or things change in the market.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I've got to stop buying that type of vehicle. I've got too much of that type of vehicle. I need to start buying something else. So then our buying trends change, which ultimately means that our selling trends are going to change. So it's this
Yes.
cycle that keeps on going round and round. And what we try and help you with is building out a foundation, right, in your BidBuddy settings. That means today they're accurate based on your current buying and selling trends, right?
Yeah.
And these are the vehicles we do what we call a hot list, a profit model year list, which outlines these are the vehicles that you make most profit on. These are the vehicles that turn quickest, and you can filter by I want to look at vehicles that turn into cash quicker.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to forego some profit on the basis that I can turn those every 30 days versus doubling my profit but turning every 120 days.
Yeah.
So they're the sort of things that you need to play around with to then determine where you need to be from a buying perspective every day.
So just from a, I guess for anyone that is using this service, we have previously called this exact stats,
Yes.
but recently we have, well, actually not that recently, but we've been slow to communicate it. We have actually changed the name to APS BidBuddy Optimizer,
Yeah.
because that more clearly sort of articulates exactly what this service or product does and what we allow um, our customers to do with this tool. So I know you've obviously already talked about the fact that this is a data-driven service or solution, and it calibrates BidBuddy's weightings for optimal buying decisions.
Yes.
Um, you're using the YMS to understand this historical data and get
So, yeah,
those unique insights.
there were a few reports out of both Pinnacle and PowerLink that we used to do that. Yep.
Yep. Um, and then obviously the team and yourself go in and you present this to our customers
Yep.
and you customize basically what their settings are to minimize the recyclers, I guess what we call bad buys,
Yeah.
and increase the profitable vehicle purchases. So the vehicles that they
Mm.
can make a profit on, or like you said before, turn them over, forego a bit of profit to turn them over quicker, or whatever that might be. Have I
Yeah.
got this
So,
correct?
yep, that's basically where we're at. That's about right. So I think the critical thing there is that from a buyer's perspective, from a salvage yard's perspective, we look at vehicles in a particular range, right? We might look at 2015 model vehicles, maybe the highest profit, vehicles. But even within those 2015 model vehicles or year vehicles, they may have purchased 100 of those over the past year, for example. Well, which 100 were actually really profitable versus which 100 or which of the 100 were not profitable? So how do we take, in a simple way, how do we take the bad, remove the investment in those vehicles, and add that investment to the ones that we know do really well for us? So if we can remove the bottom, the worst vehicles from the vehicles that we do on a daily basis, yearly basis, and take that money that we invested on those not so good performing cars and put it into good performing cars, then all of a sudden it's a compound effect benefit
Yeah.
to your business, right?
So just from someone that has their own business, I understand how businesses work. Often well, not often. Recently, we've started looking at, profitability of things, and it's something that as a business we understand, and that you have to look at numbers to understand what works and what doesn't work and vice versa. Isn't this what recyclers are already doing? Are they not looking at their cars before BidBuddy Optimiser comes in? Is this not something that recyclers have traditionally done, or do they look at, I guess, like to
Yeah.
me, hey, if you have 100 cars, is that, and you're buying 100 cars, and wouldn't you know which ones to sell? Or do you think it's, again, people are making assumptions? What's happening in the industry
Yeah.
that this information
So
is needed from you guys?
there are a lot of assumptions being made. So I was talking
Yeah,
to someone yesterday in Georgia. In fact, they were in
good,
Georgia. I'm not
good,
making
good place that.
that up. But yeah, a customer in Georgia that is a little bit old school, and they don't use a buying tool. They buy a lot of vehicles off the street, um, and they guess a lot of it, right? But it works for them. It's worked for them for years. Could they do it better? Yes, of course they could do it better. And if you really needed to go the next step in this industry, you need to be doing it better. You need to
You
be
need to know
using the
your
data to
numbers,
make
right?
decisions, right? So that's 100% correct. So yes, there is a bit of guesswork that's happened traditionally, still happens. Look, I see a lot of current users of, for example, BidBuddy. And because BidBuddy, it takes time to pick the good and bad parts and pick the right interchange. Because of that, if they're doing that internally, they actually skip over a lot of it. They look at it and they use BidBuddy to give them an indication as to whether they need that car based on the QCI score, right?
Yeah,
Now, that's better than not using anything, but it's still cheating. You're cheating yourself, right?
yeah.
You're just using it as a gauge, and it's a gauge that'll help you make a better decision. But certainly, if you want to get into the nitty gritty of, okay, I need to go that next level now, I want to be as profitable as I can, you need to dial in the numbers.
And you really need that, if any business, but certainly recycling industry, if you're going to take it to the next level and you're going to up, what you're doing and
Yeah.
build your profitability, you need to know your numbers. So, I mean, I also think it's important to say at this point that, what we do with BidBuddy Optimiser is very much recognized and supported by Mike at BidBuddy. I know he's a big fan of what
Yeah.
we're doing, because again, he knows what BidBuddy's capable of doing, but knows how the users are using it. So the fact that we've got this service available to help people use BidBuddy even better and maximize and optimize their results, Mike is very supportive and of this service, which is, I think, really
Yeah.
important to, and always does his
Yes.
best to.
So certainly Mike Lambert has been a strong supporter of ours because we help his product do a better job. Right?
Yeah,
Simple as that. And that's what it's all about. We want to deliver value to the end user. The end user is the auto recycler. And if working closely with BidBuddy and Mike, or Mike Kunkel, for example, who's a strong advocate of these types of services that we offer, helps the consumer, helps the customer get a better outcome, then that's where we need to be.
yeah, for
Um,
sure.
Sometimes I get some customers that are looking at using different services, right? It might be our BidBuddy previewing service where we do pick the good and bad parts and the interchange. And I look at how they're set up and I look at it and I say, guys, don't use that at this point in time. So I actually say, I'd prefer you to spend your money getting your foundations right in the back
Yeah,
end of BidBuddy. Because if you're going to continue doing your own previewing, that's fine. But at least use the right foundations upon which to build a bid, right? If the
Yeah,
foundations are wrong, I'm never going to get the bid right. So put your money there first. Get your own people doing that if you want to limit the amount that you spend. And then when you're ready, we can start doing your previewing as well. But if we start doing previewing now on cracked foundations, guess what? Our walls are going to crack. You're not going to get a good result. And you're
no,
not getting the result that you need to be getting for your business today. So fix the foundations first.
absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you could be talking about anything. That's what we say about online and
Yeah,
social media. Don't do social media until you've got a good website because that's the
yeah,
foundation
yeah.
of how
eBay
you are
listing,
online.
same thing. If you haven't got a good organic eBay listing, it's going
Mm,
to fail. Or you need to
absolutely.
promote the hell out of it for it to, that's why
To get
some
any results.
sellers are at 20, 25%, commission rates because they
Yeah,
have to promote, uh, the listings to get them to show up, right? So
they
it's
do.
the same thing. Let's get the foundations right. Good, strong
Sim
foundations, big, strong wall. Bad foundations, wall falls over. Simple as that.
simple, simple. So, how does the BidBuddy Optimizer help recyclers? It stops them from buying the wrong cars.
Yep.
Um, it
So
means they
I'll,
can
I'll
get
tell you
higher
straight
number.
up.
Yep,
So remove the bad buys as
yep,
much as possible.
yep,
Um, Two, it helps obviously from a profitability perspective, or I'll flip it around from a cost of goods perspective. Over a period of time, obviously we need to filter these cars through, but over a period of time, their cost of goods, or at least their the cost of goods at the point of purchase should diminish because there's other factors that influence cost of goods as well, but they will come
yep,
down. Um, Three, obviously, that means they're making a higher profit on that vehicle.
yep,
Their break-even days should come down as well. So that's
yeah,
really important. So their cash flow becomes better as well. Um, yeah, ultimately, just look. All this works if you can deliver a good customer experience, right?
absolutely. Well,
And the best
always.
customer experience you can give is to say yes to them to the right part at the right time at the right price. And what this should enable you to do over a period of time, over a period of consistent application, is it'll help you as an automotive recycler say yes to your customer on the parts that they are requesting. So
Yep,
that's the customer experience. Make the customer happy, everything else takes care of itself. That's our approach. If we can make you happy as a customer, you're going to be happy with our service. We'll be successful
absolutely.
along with you.
So that leads me into my next question. What is the APS approach? How does APS BidBuddy Optimizer work? What do you get? Tell
Yep.
me about what that process looks like.
Okay. So basically, if you decide to use it, we take a few reports out of both Pinnacle or PowerLink, whichever one you're using. We load them into our BidBuddy Optimizer system or ExactStats system that we've built and
Hmm.
refined over the past couple of years. And it produces a report that I then go into personally and review and look at the key numbers. And I look at a lot of information. I look at sales numbers, I look at buying numbers, I look at search numbers, there's broker parts numbers, etc. Because what we do in buying affects what happens with broker parts. So if I
Yep.
decide, or if we decide that we shouldn't be buying these types of vehicles, right? Why shouldn't we be buying? Because they don't make us money. Maybe we should be brokering those parts. So we don't want to say no to our customer. Remember, the customer experience is critical. We want to say yes to that customer as
Yes.
often as possible so they can come back. So what happens? We stop buying those vehicles because they don't make money for us. We need to make sure that we're brokering. So I'll work with you and your sales function, if you like.
Yep.
And this is where we work closely, for example, with Profit Team because they provide sales training, through Rob and
Yes.
Mike, etc. So we'll help work together so that we say, okay, we're going to change our tact here with buying. Therefore, we need to make sure our sales team is brokering those types of parts so that we continue saying yes. So now we're making money on our broker parts and we're not wasting our money on that vehicle that's not profitable. Let someone else do that. They can make that
Yep.
vehicle work, right? So we'll go through that process. There's about a 24, 25-page report. I will then spend an hour, sometimes 2 hours on a call with you presenting that and some recommendations.
Yep.
Out of that will also come a three-pronged QCI settings recommendation. So I will
Yeah.
recommend this is how I think you should set up your QCI settings across the red, white, and blue columns. So we try and segment the vehicles into three categories rather than, as I said before, measure or valuing a 2022 truck the same way as we value a 2007 Civic or Camry. All right.
Yep.
We'll split those up into three columns. If there were more columns, we'd split that up even further and dissect them. If you're happy with all of that, then what we do is I can go into your BidBuddy settings, adjust the BidBuddy settings, and then you will start using those to value vehicles. So that's
Yep.
basically
That's pretty
what
easy.
ultimately happens. Yeah, from your perspective, it's a matter of printing the reports, getting on a call with me so we can run through the analysis that I've done and provide you with the recommendations. Agree or disagree, 99.9% of people agree, and then we implement, put it into BidBuddy. Then you
And
buy
look, I know
using those settings.
you've just explained this, but I think it's important to reiterate that this service is not a software. It's not. This is obviously you use um, the data and you have forms and formulas that you put all the data into and churn it
Yep,
in, and then you. But this is a one of the few areas where it's specifically they get access really to your brain, I would say, and your consulting services where you go through and look at the data and make suggestions based on data, but using
yep,
your understanding of the data and your skill set and your industry knowledge. Is that correct?
100%. So this again, it's like I think you've used the term before, cookie cutter. It's not cookie cutter.
Yep.
It's this is specific to your business, and I haven't still having done hundreds of these. I haven't seen one that's been the same between one or the other.
No.
And the other thing that we do is, you know, we don't do it once, and it's not a set and forget because guess what? You buy differently. All of a sudden, I'm not buying those types of vehicles. I need to broker them. My selling um, trends, my selling, yeah, trends and forecasts are going
Hmm.
to change as a result of that. Therefore, we need to feed that into your buying tool so that it can do the right thing. So all of a sudden now it's going to give you less weighting on certain vehicles because we want it to give you less weighting on
Change.
those vehicles.
And that
They're not profitable.
you do quarterly reviews with our optimized
So
customers, but so and that I guess that is the reason for it because people's buying habits change, because selling habits
yeah,
change, because we need to make sure that we are always constantly evolving, adapting, applying the new data and following those trends.
yeah. So we do quarterly reviews. Do you need to do a review every quarter? Sometimes not. If you know a higher volume facility, probably a quarterly review makes sense. A lower volume facility could probably stretch it out to 6 months. 12 months at a long stretch. I mean, you're sort of probably going a bit too far with that. But I strongly recommend at least every 6 months someone
Yep.
should be doing a review and updating their BidBuddy. Look, at the end of the day, if you've got that accurate, you're buying more accurately. Now, one thing I will say about this is that sometimes, not sometimes, most of the time, people find it harder to buy cars. Right?
Yep.
Now,
Yeah,
that
I've
is
heard
not a
that.
mistake. That is not, I'm not going to apologize for that. Why? Because I need to help you make more money on your cars.
Yeah.
Before you were cheating yourself. You were buying vehicles. The system was giving you more money to buy vehicle X. Why? Because you had vanilla settings, right? But that vehicle doesn't make money.
Yeah.
Our data driven approach says this vehicle doesn't make money. Therefore, these are the settings on that vehicle. Therefore, it's not giving me as much money to pay for that car. So, what do I need to do? If I want to keep on buying that Camry or Civic or whatever it is, that's a marginal margin type vehicle, um, well, either look harder, find one that's at the right price that you can pay to make money out of it, or you have to skip that car.
You have
So
to.
you do need to work harder to buy more cars.
But that's the
But
same as
I
anything.
do that
Nothing.
unapologetically, as I say.
Yeah, you have to work hard if you want to have
Yeah.
massive guns. You have
Well,
to, well, I'm talking about weight, like arm guns. If you want to, big, massive guns,
yeah.
you have to make sure that um,
Oh, there's
you know,
Kath in the background running
yeah,
across.
you're running across, you have to work hard at the gym and that's hard, but then the
Yeah.
results will speak for themselves. Um,
I
so
mean,
I guess the,
look at that.
the key, yeah, well, the key takeaways, from what we've discussed with the APS BidBuddy Optimizer is data. Obviously, recyclers need to keep clean, accurate records of what they're
Yeah,
purchasing, what they're selling, what their margins are. That data is,
it's critical. You've
critical.
got it. The thing is, you've got it. It's there.
Yep,
It
it's
just needs
there.
to be used.
Yeah.
Needs to be used the
Um,
right way.
and this is a big one. People need to be open to change. They need to be open to the fact that you're going to make things harder for them. You're going to change their buying strategies. It's no longer going to be
Do
just on a
the
gut feel.
question the question I have for people is, do you want to make money?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Well,
Do you want to make more money? Yes. Okay. Do you want to make more money and do less? Yes. Okay. So if I can make more profit and do less vehicles, is that something you'd like to do? Well, of course, I need less
yeah.
people. I need less whatever, right?
Yeah,
Less overhead.
absolutely. Absolutely.
It's a no-brainer. I don't know. There's no discussion here. It's like, of course, I want to make more money. Of course, I want to make my life easier. And of course, I want to make less bad decisions when I'm
Yeah.
buying cars because I know that that's the most important part of my business. So, what do? You need to do something like this, whether you do it yourself or whether you use a service like ours. Find a way to fine tune your BidBuddy settings.
Yeah,
Full stop.
absolutely. And next steps, if anyone's listened to this and gone, oh my gosh, I need to chat to Chris a little bit more or Georgia about, or Kirk in the US,
Yeah.
next steps, basically jump on our website and book an initial consultation. Is there anything else they need to do?
You can book a consultation, book a call. We can just jump on a no obligation call. We can have a bit of a chat. I'll have a look at some of the stuff that you've got, some of your numbers, for example, and we'll do a quick overview and see whether there's value. I mean, if
Yeah.
you've got it all, down pat perfect, then there's not really much you need us for, right?
Yeah,
So we'll tell you
absolutely.
that. Okay. But I think, I've only ever seen really one facility that is close to really, really amazing.
Yeah.
And even they keep on doing the BidBuddy optimizations. Why? Not just for the optimizations. In fact, they do it more so for the report that we present,
Yeah. And
because
I've
it
sat in
gives
the
them
report. The
those
report
extra
is
one
good.
percenters. Yeah,
The
those
report
one
is good.
percenters are critical. So I
Yeah.
think next steps, you can contact myself, Chris, Georgia, or in the US now you've got Kirk there. He's
Yep.
based in Minneapolis. So Kirk at autopartnersolutions.com, or look our website up,
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll put the notes.
www. Yep,
I'll
put the
put
notes
the
in.
notes in this. Yep. Um,
Yeah,
so that's obviously APS BidBuddy Optimizer. Now, probably when I get this out and published online, we will probably be on a plane. You might already be in Canada, and we'll be heading over to the US to go to the
yep,
URG conference. Um, that's going to be obviously that's a big event on our calendar. It's a big event, I think, on all automotive recyclers'
yep,
calendars. What do you want to, I guess, tell the listeners a little bit about some of the exciting stuff, just in a
yeah.
couple of minutes, a couple of quick sentences about
Couple of
what
quick
you're,
minutes.
yeah,
So, one, URG conference, you got to sign up and be at it. Number one.
yeah,
Number two,
100%.
uh, we're doing the yard tour again
We
on the
are.
Tuesday the 8th and Wednesday the 9th of April, just before the conference.
Yep. If you're
So if you
interested,
can get there,
well,
yep,
they
there's
need
still a
to,
few seats
depending
left
on
open.
timing, there's a few seats left now. There may not be
Yeah,
closer to the
not
time,
be
but
when we're
by
doing
all
it now.
means, give us a call because some people might pull out at the end, closer to
Yep.
the time.
So
So, and
really,
that's
really
free.
important.
Yep.
Yep, really important and free. Three, we're going to be at stand 22, I think.
We are.
Kirk, yourself, and I will be at the stand.
We've got
We'll
some
be
really
talking about
fun
yeah,
stuff
we do.
planned. I know you've got some serious stuff to talk about, but we, as your marketing team, have got some really fun stuff planned that will make our
Yes,
stand a good time.
I'm scared. I'm scared. I'm scared with some of this fun stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that said, we're going to have some amazing giveaways at the stand too. Not just, what do we call it? The stuff that
Swag.
we give, swag, not just the swag, amazing, valuable giveaways. So come to the stand, um, and you'll get some real value out of that. The second thing is there's a few really good sessions happening. I'm doing one on AI. I'm really, really excited about that. As you know, we're introducing our new digital sales assistant, ARI,
Hmm.
as we call it, and we're launching that at URG. So that'll be really exciting. Come and have a listen to it. Do a demo. You'll be able to put your name in, your vehicle in, and call the digital assistant straight up at a stand.
Yep.
Put some headphones on, and you'll be able to take it for a test run. See how you go there. So there's some really exciting stuff happening. To be honest with you, we've got some
There
really good
is.
stuff
I'm
happening
on a
with
panel
with
with
the tech.
I'm on a panel for social media marketing with Vince from ARA, and also Bishops. So that would be not Bishops, sorry. Bionic
Oh yeah,
Junior from
Junior.
Bionic. Yep.
Yep,
So that will be a really good session as well. There's some really, really exciting stuff, sessions I think that are going to be happening though, other than just the two that we're participating in. I think there's a few more that
absolutely.
you're on a panel for as well. So it's a
Yes,
good.
yes. Remote salespeople. So we'll be talking about remote salespeople again with I think people from Chucks and from Bionic again,
Yep.
talking about how they're doing remote sales. So there's a heap of stuff happening at URG, pre-URG, at URG. There's a collision repair conference happening in Chicago the week before that I'll be attending, and possibly Christy from URG will be there as well, promoting the auto recycling industry to the collision repair industry over there. We've got Aura in Canada happening at Niagara,
Mhm.
the 27th and 28th, I believe, of March. So we'll be at that as well. So look, there's a fun full 2.5 week period there at the end of March, early April, with a lot of new innovations. So
Yep.
come and see us. Go to see other people at URG and Aura.
Yep.
You're going to
For
learn a lot.
sure. And if you're interested in APS BidBuddy Optimizer, make sure you get in touch and have a chat with us.
Cool. Thanks,
All
Georgia.
right.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Chris. Okay. Bye.
Okay. Cheers.